So today we are going to dive a little bit into PCOS and exercise because we are a women's gym and it should honestly be something that is talked about more. A lot of women have issues with it, and I want to help advocate and also help those people that do have PCOS. So what is PCOS? A lot of us already know it's polycystic ovarian syndrome. Is a complex endocrinopathy affecting both metabolism and the reproductive system of women of reproductive ages. Prevalence ranges from 6.1 to 19.9%, depending on the criteria used to give the diagnosis, but a lot of it's like 1 in 10. PCOS accounts for approximately 80% of women with anovulatory infertility and causes disruption at various stages of the reproductive axis. So excess testosterone, we all produce some, but too much can prevent ovulation and change your menstrual cycle. It also has insulin resistance, and your body has to produce much more insulin than normal to keep blood sugar levels stable. And excess insulin floating around also increases testosterone, which is produced, and that can lead to reduced fertility, irregular absent periods, excessive hair on your body or face, less hair on your head, and changes in your skin, such as acne or darkened skin patches. You may also notice that your self-esteem and body image may take a hit or experiencing depression, anxiety. There is currently no cure for PCOS, but knowing that you have the condition is something that can be very important. Lifestyle changes is something that can help in managing your symptoms. And regular exercise has incredible benefits that go well beyond weight loss for women with PCOS. So why is exercise so important for women with PCOS? Evidence suggests lifestyle modification should be the very first line of therapy for women with PCOS. Several studies have examined the impact of exercise intervention on reproductive function, with results indicating improvements in menstrual or ovulation frequency following exercise. Enhanced insulin sensitivity underpins the mechanisms of how exercise restores reproductive function. Women with PCOS typically have a cluster of metabolic abnormalities, and those can be risk factors for cardiovascular disease. And there's a lot of evidence that exercise mitigates cardiovascular disease risk in women with PCOS. The mechanism by which exercise improves many cardiovascular disease risk factors is again associated with improved insulin sensitivity and decreased hyperinsulinemia. In addition to cardiometabolic and reproductive complications, PCOS has been associated with an increased prevalence of mental health disorders, and exercise can help to improve that as well. Physiological well-being in women with PCOS dependent upon certain physiological factors. An optimal dose response relationship to exercise and PCOS may not be feasible because of the highly individualized characteristics of the disorder, because it's so different for everyone. And guidelines for PCOS currently suggest about 150 minutes of physical activity per week. Prioritizing exercise may support regular ovulation. In assessing the impact of exercise on PCOS, there were researchers that found moderate intensity exercise improves ovulation, and improvements weren't dependent on the type of exercise, frequency, or length of the workout section. So again, one of the hallmarks of PCOS is insulin resistance. It's a condition in which the cells in your muscles, fat, and liver don't respond well to insulin and can't easily take up glucose or sugar from your blood. Insulin resistance can lead to prediabetes and diabetes over time. Regulating your insulin levels can help lower those testosterone levels, which are typically high in people with PCOS. Regular exercise routine has the potential to help combat those testosterone-related symptoms like the acne, the hair loss, the unusual hair growth on face, and other parts of your body. And finally, many women with PCOS also struggle with their weight, which can increase risk of a bunch of different health conditions, including high cholesterol, high blood pressure, sleep apnea, stroke, and heart disease. And obviously, exercise can help to lower your risk of a lot of just chronic diseases. There was a systematic review and meta-analysis to evaluate the effectiveness of varying exercise intensities and moderating effects of dietary co-intervention, training dose, and baseline values on cardiorespiratory, metabolic, and reproductive health outcomes in women with PCOS. So this is the first study that was ever done. It was a systematic review. So it's like a review of all of the 600 and something studies on exercise and PCOS and diet intervention on PCOS. Results from the review demonstrate clear improvements in several of these outcomes following an exercise intervention with women. The most consistent improvements were seen with cardiorespiratory fitness, so your VO2, BMI, which we know is a load of crap, but they got to say it, waist circumference, and various markers of metabolic health, including fasting insulin and HOMA-IR. These results are supported by the meta-analysis, which revealed improvements again in that VO2, body composition, and insulin sensitivity following an exercise intervention, particularly when compared to a no exercise controlled group. Vigorous intensity exercise, both alone and when combined with a dietary intervention, resulted in the greatest improvements in health parameters in both fixed and predicted analyses. Moderate intensity exercise, there were clear improvements when combined with diet. And resistance training showed promising improvements as well for kind of everything. So specifically for greater health improvements, exercise interventions or exercise prescription should aim to achieve and sustain, which is a big one. So once you get there, you want to stay there. Equating to about 120 minutes per week across the time frame. Like I said, people have also said 150. It's between 120 and 150. Obviously, if you're doing more high intensity interval training, it's going to be more than 120. If you're doing moderate, it's going to be more than 150. But resistance training is also going to be very important when it comes to a lot of it, especially when we talk about tracking your cycle and figuring out, what is good for your body when, and what you need to do in order to have the best workout that you can, depending on where you're at in your 28-day cycle. So how to approach exercise if you have PCOS. Consistency is key. So you want to make exercise a part of your normal routine, trying to get, 30 minutes, give or take, of some form of physical activity. It doesn't have to get your heart rate super high, but just walking around, doing something, even heavy deep cleaning will count as that. Focus on your resistance training on endurance instead of strength, because higher volumes of intensities of strength training can temporarily raise testosterone levels. They do go back down. It's the same thing with cortisol, your stress hormone. When we lift heavy, when we do high intensity exercise, your cortisol level is also going to come up and then come back down. But we don't want to raise testosterone levels more than they already are with people with PCOS. Doesn't mean you should fear the weights, just focusing again on the resistance. So you're thinking bodyweight exercises, we're thinking something in the 8 to 10 kind of rep range that you could do with weights. HIIT is going to be your cardio BFF. So versus going on a long run, it's better to do kind of a HIIT training, but I'm not talking HIIT for 60 minutes. I'm talking HIIT for maximum of 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be something that's a lot, because HIIT takes a lot out of you. And again, we want to avoid the testosterone level, but we also want to avoid raising that cortisol too high as well, because that's just not good for overall inflammation. So you kind of have to find that happy medium and balance that metabolic system that you have. We want to create a balanced routine. So high levels of intense exercise have been linked with menstrual cycle irregularities. So if you're already having cycle issues because of PCOS, you want to focus on maybe 3 days of HIIT and 2 days of resistance training. You don't want to be doing everything all the time every day. Make sure that your body has rest, and make sure that you're starting slow and making sure that you're building up to a routine that you can stick to for the entire time. So cardio, great for reducing insulin resistance, boosting fertility, and stabilizing your mood. So moderate exercises like walking, jogging, not running, cycling, swimming, all great exercises that can help. It increases your body's sensitivity to insulin, which reduces your risk again of cardiovascular disease and diabetes. Can also help with depression and anxiety, especially also because if we're going out in the weather, obviously not today with the rain, snow that we got going on. But with sunny weather and getting your vitamin D and being out in nature, a lot of that is going to help. For strength training, it's great for reducing insulin resistance, increasing metabolic rate, improving body composition. So more muscle, less fat, especially because people with insulin resistance tend to store fat more. So we really want to make sure that we have more muscle than fat, because your body's already going to be prone to storing it. Bodyweight exercises, squats, push-ups, tricep dips, can boost those metabolisms. Again, we're talking body weight exercises in that 8 to 10 rep range, banded exercises, things like that. High intensity interval training is great for increasing cardiovascular fitness because of the high to low burst. So it's like a 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. So sprint for 30, walk for 30, or doing 30 seconds of a bodyweight exercise, resting for 30 seconds and doing that 10 times. But it's not something that is, again, high intensity interval training is not something you should be doing for an hour. It is 20 minutes. That is all you need. You do not need more to cause any more stress on your body. Core strength is just good to have anyway. It's good for your general well-being, injury prevention, and also if you are looking to become pregnant, it's preparing your body for pregnancy while working out those core muscles and making sure that they stay intact and that they don't spread apart during your pregnancy. Yoga is also something that has a ton of benefits for women with PCOS because it improves anxiety, ovulation, kind of stabilizes those hormones and metabolic parameters, which are super critical to maintaining and managing your PCOS symptoms and keeping them, kind of low. And so you're not having these flare-ups all the time. And it's just a good activity that's like, it's calming. It gets your heart rate up, but not too much. Definitely something to do on like a resistance training day or like on an off day, something that gets your body moving. Because again, we do want to move our bodies every single day, whether it's through deep stretching, yoga, going for a walk, etc. So yeah, that is a little bit on PCOS and exercise. If you have any questions, please comment below or feel free to send me a direct message as well. If you're like, I don't want everyone to know that I also struggle with this, and we can discuss a little bit more and talk about it a little bit more as well.